And a very happy Friday to you at 12:08 in the West. Talk Radio 790 KABC, The John Phillips Show, broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studios. And if there's ever a time where you want to let your hair down and play some blackjack, it's on a Friday afternoon. Isn't that so? Mr. Randy Wangs at the sports desk in Culver City.
John, a man who was all the way pissed off,
and I want you to be all the way pissed off,
showed up to the LA City Council meeting this morning because he claims he tries to call in on the phone line and they never take his call. And so he was going to give Papa Krikorian a piece of his mind. How do you think that went?
A lot of bad words were used.
And, sir, I never thought of you as that kind of a person. I've always had respect for you. Always had respect.
Your time has expired.
You will disrespect.
Your time's expired. Have it. Okay, your time is expired.
He's saying, I don't get bleeping disrespected.
You know, for a guy who's all about respect, I don't know if Emily Post would condone that language.
Okay, your time is expired. Sit down. Sit down and be silent.
This is your first formal warning. Please do not disrupt this
you're
meeting.
You're excluded
Mr.
from
Candido,
the meeting pursuant to Rule 12.
You are continuing.
Mr. Candido is removed from the meeting pursuant to Rule 12. Please exit the council chambers silently so we can continue with public comment. And while he's being removed, for the record, I have no idea what your phone number is. And while he's being removed, for the record, I have no idea what your phone number is. There's no way that I can exclude you. You call in, you either get the chance to speak or you don't. I have no idea what your phone number is. Nobody's excluding you. It's ridiculous. Okay, you're ordered excluded. Please stop disrupting.
Wait, I thought you said nobody's excluding him.
Well, now he is.
Okay, you're ordered excluded. Please stop disrupting this meeting. You're continuing to disrupt this meeting. Please leave. Please leave the meeting. Leave the meeting expeditiously and silently. You'll also be subject to Rule 7. Good morning. Get out.
Well, don't disrespect Mr. Candido. I hope you've learned your lesson.
I feel like this won't be the last time we hear from Mr. Candido.
You know, I went on a cruise ship right after they reopened after the pandemic. And on the cruise prior to mine, there was literally like a 35-person brawl that took place at the pizza parlor. And I found one of the people who worked on the ship, and I said, what could have possibly gone wrong that caused 35 people to brawl at a pizza parlor? And he said it was actually started by two women. And I said, well, what happened between the two women that caused all of this to happen? And he said, well, one of them felt disrespected.
And that escalated to a 35-person pizza brawl.
Imagine going on a cruise to Ensenada and coming back to the port jail in San Pedro. At that point, do you start to examine where your life went wrong? And before you go to port jail in San Pedro, you're on cruise ship jail on the high seas.
They're holding you in the brig.
That means no buffet for you.
Maybe they come out of this and they understand that that kind of behavior isn't accepted on that cruise line, and they book Carnival next time.
That's right. And if you've ever thought, gee, I wish the cruise lines would drop their prices, I'm here to tell you, no, you don't. Because the minute they drop their prices, that's when they become Spirit Airlines.
You want a high price to keep out the riffraff.
That's right. Unless you want it to be fist fights of the seas, you want those people excluded. Anyone who's willing to participate in a 35-person brawl at a pizza parlor is someone who doesn't have the manners to cruise. All right. It is Jimmy Buffett Friday on the John Phillips Show. 800-222-KABC is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. It is time to open up the show with the KABC Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, today's edition of the Crime Blotter takes us to the city by the bay.
San Francisco is having a lot of firsts lately. Last week, they finally convicted someone of being a fentanyl dealer. And this week, for the first time ever, San Francisco police arrested somebody in their bait car program. What's a bait car? That's when you have a guy breaking into cars left and right, but one of them is actually a trap.
Wait, that's not a car that you use to go fishing in?
No, that's a different kind of bait car. That one already got broken into, and they stole all the tackle boxes.
Uh-oh.
For more on this harrowing journey, we go to KGO.
New data shows criminals break into 55 cars every single day in San Francisco.
That is quite the number.
But a new strategy by police.
It's not that big of a city.
No, it's the size of a postage stamp.
Every single day in San Francisco. But a new strategy by police is bringing that number down. Good evening. I'm Amma Dates.
And I'm Dan Ashley. Thanks for joining us. Here are the latest pictures viewers have sent to the ABC 7 News I-Team of car burglaries that they spotted or, in some cases, suffered themselves.
SFPD says the number of car break-ins is down 5% from the same time last year.
So last year it was 60 per day.
That was back when it was safe in San Francisco.
And they credit the use of bait cars.
Yeah, and the I-Team's Dan Noyes is here with more on the first arrest in this latest bait car campaign, Dan.
Well, Dan and Amma, police sources tell me any arrest using the bait car will have a big impact. That one criminal typically breaks into several cars in a single day. But you're about to see, even with an arrest, sometimes it's not long before they're back on the street.
Here we go.
We know what's coming next.
This couple from Indiana won't be coming back to San Francisco anytime soon.
It's just sad. It's sad to see what used to be a beautiful city come to this.
Dan and Linda Olagus were headed to a wedding in Sonoma County last month, but they stopped to tour Alcatraz prison.
And you saw Alcatraz? How was it?
It was awesome.
Fabulous.
We're in a great mood after we saw Alcatraz.
Nothing puts you in a good mood like going to a prison.
That's right, an empty prison that should be filled with all the people breaking into the cars.
You need to open it up again.
I think they're on the same page as you.
We should tell them to listen, noon to 3.
You need to open it up.
Streaming around the world.
You need to open it up again.
You could use it for something.
They left the tour boat and walked across the Embarcadero to this parking lot. They thought their luggage would be safe in the rental car. But they joined the 15,357 other people who have had their cars broken into so far this year in San Francisco. They lost cash, a $1,200 iPad, and a $3,500 laptop. The police left a note telling the couple to come to Central Station. They had recovered their luggage.
But they basically told us that, is there a chance for us getting our computers back? And they said, no, your computer will probably end up in either Vietnam or another.
What?
Vietnam?
Vietnam.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Your car gets broken into, they steal your laptop and your iPad, and 12 hours later, it's in Vietnam.
All right. If there's someone out there in the insurance or rental car industry, please let me know if my memory is accurate. But if I recall correctly, Randy, some years ago, there was a scandal in Sacramento when all of these smash and grabs first started. It wasn't at the level at which it is right now, but it was starting to become a problem. And the Speaker of the Assembly, who I believe it was either John Perez or Fabian Nunez, I'm not sure, but it was around that era, authored legislation that made it so that if you were the one that rented the car and you were the victim of one of these smash and grabs, you were the victim of a crime that impacted the car, it was switched from the insurance policy of the rental car company to your personal insurance policy, so that you assume all of the liability as the renter, as opposed to, say, Hertz or Alamo or Budget or whoever it is that you rent the car from. Not very consumer-friendly legislation. And when they were called out on it, The speaker who authored the legislation said, "Don't blame me. It was one of the rental car companies that wrote it. I just sponsored it." And pretended like they had nothing to do with it. Like Hertz owns a seat in the California State Assembly.
And they said, no, your computer will probably end up in either Vietnam or another Asian country.
That happened on a Friday. Just 3 days later, the iPad pinged this location in Vietnam.
It is in Vietnam. Okay, how does that work?
How does a stolen iPad get to Vietnam in 3 days, and I can't get to Dallas without 15 delays and 3 cancellations?
8,836 miles away. And that laptop containing Linda's work as a photographer was long gone.
I thought I was going to hyperventilate. He was probably the strong one in this case because it was just devastating for me.
Police say they caught the man responsible for the Olegesas break-in, 26-year-old Robert Sanza of San Francisco. The criminal complaint alleges on that day, September 1st, he broke into the couple's rental car, another rental car, and a San Francisco Police Department bait car.
They got him!
Well, he had a hat trick.
They may be breaking into cars that are put out there by the San Francisco Police Department.
The police chief announced the new bait car campaign the week before Sanza's arrest. I was there in court last week when he pled not guilty and set a trial date, and I've been researching Sanza's court records in several counties.
What are the chances this guy has a record?
Let me think. If you believe the George Gascons of the world and the Chesa Boudins of the world, these people are just justice affiliated, and they're trying to do their best in a world that has its foot on their neck.
Quite frankly,
over the past 5 years, Sanza has been arrested more than a dozen times.
Surprise, surprise.
Oh, it gets worse.
He has convictions for car burglary, grand theft, hit and run, shoplifting, and more. He was on probation at the time he's accused of breaking into the Olegesas rental car.
Robert Sanza. Wait, you don't immediately go back in after you've been arrested and you're already on probation?
Especially when someone didn't learn their lesson.
Robert Sanza has also been accused of evading arrest on several occasions, trying to drive away, but slamming into cars, causing injuries, and putting anyone on those streets in danger.
February 2nd of last year, police responded to the Japantown garage for a report of an auto burglary. Officers tried to detain Sanza as the suspect, but he fled, got in his car, ran over an officer's foot, and hit a parked car.
Yikes!
How is it that you can injure all of these people in addition to committing all of these crimes and you're still out on the streets?
Oh, you're going to find out because it gets worse.
Less than 3 months later, court records show that police tried to arrest him in North Beach. He was driving a stolen vehicle reportedly used in multiple car break-ins that day.
The police sort of trapped him. This is a one-way street. They trapped him down there.
Neighbors watched as Sanza hit the 2 patrol cars, drove onto the sidewalk, and took out this staircase.
So let's see. He's destroyed a staircase, 2 police cars, ran over a police officer's foot, and hit multiple cars while all trying to evade the cops in 2 separate occasions.
Good God, this guy drives like Harrison Ford flies.
And suddenly the whole house starts shaking, and my wife starts yelling, "Someone just hit your Vespa."
His Vespa.
Well, they're dangerous anyway.
My wife starts yelling, "Someone just hit your Vespa." My wife's.
This isn't a drop, is it?
"Someone just hit your Vespa."
Well, wait, was it his staircase that got knocked out too?
Yes.
My wife starts yelling, "Someone just hit your Vespa."
His Vespa was destroyed. He had to replace it.
So we've got 2 cop cars, a police officer's foot, a staircase, and a Vespa.
Well, how do you get out of your house if the staircase got knocked out? Do you have to jump?
The complaint says Sanza hit another patrol car a block away, injuring an officer.
Okay, now we've hurt another officer and destroyed another cop car.
Sideswiped another house. He made it to Columbus and Broadway, where he hit a civilian's car, injuring them. He left the car and ran into Chinatown, where officers finally arrested him.
Okay, how many parked cars in total has this man hit?
That was at least a baker's dozen.
Okay, I don't think Stevie Wonder would hit that many parked cars.
Maybe he was on a bunch of Ambien.
Who does that?
At first, prosecutors charged Sansa with several counts of assault upon a peace officer with a deadly weapon.
You mean when he ran over the cop's foot and hit other police officers in their car with the car as a battering ram?
What's the defense going to be? Well, the cop was a size 14. If he was a size 8, it never would have happened.
Oh, Johnny, just you wait. It gets worse.
At first, prosecutors charged Sansa with several counts of assault upon a peace officer with a deadly weapon, hit and run, evading an officer with willful disregard, and a misdemeanor, possession of burglar tools. In a plea deal, all the charges got dismissed, except for a single count of evading an officer.
That's it?
That's it. Plea deal. None of that stuff mattered. Running over the police officer's foot was dropped. And they charged him with evading an officer. For 2 different high-speed chases this guy destroyed the city in.
Well, you know what that is, Randy?
What's that?
Accountability.
I mean, it's not just about money. It's about damn accountability.
I am pissed. Pissed. There's no way a person doing all of that damage should be let off with just evading.
Sansa got out with time served in that case, a little over 6 months in jail.
All of that rampage, 6 months in jail, and as soon as he gets out, what does he do? Breaks into cars.
What are they going to do if he ends up running someone over and killing him? Give him traffic school?
The police union president tells me deals like the one Sansa got do little to prevent future crimes.
Why is it that, we continue to give, breaks and passes to people who just really are just showing they do not want to do the right thing?
The criminal justice system in San Francisco is just Janice Hahn now.
That's your final warning.
Except they don't even use that tone.
At that same news conference announcing the bait car campaign, District Attorney Brooke Jenkins promised to prosecute car break-ins more aggressively.
That's what we are trying to reinstill in San Francisco right now, is that not only will you be caught, but when you are prosecuted, there will be a consequence for that behavior.
Say jail.
They won't. There are consequences. There's accountability. And that means nothing happens.
And she's on the correct side of this issue, but she knows how difficult it is to get a conviction for anything. If you can't get a fentanyl dealer convicted, good luck getting a car burglar convicted in San Francisco.
That's right. Whenever you say you want accountability, that means you want nothing to happen. It's like when something goes to hell around the globe and you say, I want the UN to handle it. That means you don't care.
That's a start for Dan and Linda Olegas.
Does it mean anything at all that the police were able to catch your guy with their bait car? It worked. I mean, their law enforcement technique worked.
It does, but then, let's see what happens to this guy. Because, it wasn't his first rodeo. It's a professional job. What are they going to do, slap him on the wrist and let him out in a couple months?
Boy, you don't know the half of it.
I'm pretty sure the state of California has lost this couple's tourism dollars for the rest of their lives.
What do you think they're telling everyone over in Indiana?
Oh, they've got some stories.
How do you think Bobby Knight reacted?
Robert Sansa's public defender declined to discuss his current case or the previous ones. His trial is set for November 17th, and I'll be there to follow up.
That's quite the journey.
So what do you think's going to happen? Charges dropped or full acquittal?
Well, the fact that now this has been widely reported on the news, this got a 7-minute wrap, which is not that that's not that common in TV news. Maybe this one will get enough attention that Brooke Jenkins is going to have to throw everything she can at this guy. Because if he gets out in 6 months, he's just going to go back to breaking into cars.
Okay, but you know what the jury pool is like in San Francisco.
That's the problem.
You fill that jury box with 12 registered voters in San Francisco, and you just stand there in the courtroom and look at them. That doesn't look like a jury. It looks like an orgy over at Antifa.
Maybe he'll say he was a victim of human trafficking.
Oh, yes. Yes, he was persecuted in Guatemala, even though he's not Guatemalan. But the jury will buy it, so why not? If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, the weekend is almost here, thank God. If you want to continue to listen to us over the weekend, even though there's no live shows being produced, you could still listen to the podcast.
That's right. Download the KABC app. Search KABC AM in the Apple App Store or the Android Store, and you can download the easiest way to listen live to us noon to 3, Monday through Friday. And then once 3:01 hits, you can go back and you can listen to all the podcasts. I mean, go back as far as you want. They're all up there for the past 3.5 years. You want to pretend like it's the 4th of July and someone just nuked a basketball court in Oakland? You can do that.
Oh, my God. They melted the basketball court.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
790 KABC welcomes Adam Sandler to the Acrisure Arena on October 21st. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Live Nation. Good luck dialing.
Coming up next, we'll have more pearls of wisdom from your favorite Abolish the Police LA City Councilwoman, Eunice Hernandez.
No!
The Fix California Hour coming up after the news at 1. All right. We told you earlier in the week that Abolish the Police Los Angeles City Councilwoman, Eunice Hernandez, did a sit-down with Spectrum One News.
Are we going to get it?
Oh, yes. And we played some of the sound for you, but there were some pearls of wisdom that she bestowed upon us that we didn't have time to get to. And, Randy, they are some gems.
Let's hear what Eunice Hernandez has to say about one of her biggest causes for action, closing Men's Central Jail.
You co-founded the community-based organization La Defensa with the mission to close Men's Central Jail in Los Angeles.
I wonder how much public money they've gotten over the years.
Well, that's how these organizations operate. It's a money laundering scheme where money comes from the government to the organizations back to the electeds.
And why do they want to defund the police? So more of that money can go to these organizations.
That's right. Plus, we don't want to criminalize our communities.
The Board of Supervisors voted in 2019 to close down the jail by March 2025 due to inhumane conditions. And there have already been several inmate deaths at various LA jails this year.
Wait, inhumane conditions? What the hell do you think we have to live in on a daily basis?
What needs to be done to address this situation until the county closes MCJ for good?
The county needs to take the steps to implement the recommendations that community, that their own departments, and that coalitions have provided them with. We have the
let everybody out.
That's what they want. She is an abolish the police, abolish the jails person.
Because that's more money in the budget you won't need for criminal justice, and you can give it to us, and we will say that we're providing services to people.
We have the Alternatives to Incarceration Care First Jail's last report.
I'm telling you, I told you this from the time I taught adult education. Whatever the name is, the opposite is true.
We have the Alternatives to Incarceration Care First Jail's last report.
Care First means more people to rob your car.
That community put together with the county, with county departments, that outlines the various safety valves and things that we could do as a county to alleviate and reduce some of the jail population and to prevent people from actually getting funneled in there in the first place. And so we don't need to wait for more judges to step in and tell us what to do around the jail. We know that Men's Central Jail needs to be closed. And I just want to highlight Men's Central Jail and Twin Towers jails are both in CD1. This is the district that I represent. And so
those are her constituents.
Boy, I never thought of it that way before.
This is the district that I represent.
She represents the prison demographic.
Now, if you're registered to vote in one district, but you're in prison at the time that the election takes place, can you vote for Eunice's, or do you have to vote in your district of origin?
Yes! This is the district that I represent. And so there are thousands of people in there that we could better serve if we had access to community-based mental health services, drug treatment. We have created so many barriers to develop the services that we need that we have not been able to build up the spectrum of services that adequately will support our loved ones. That's why we have over 30% of the people in the LA County jail system who have some sort of mental health need or on some type of psychotropic medication, because the jails are where People have been forced to go get mental health services because the county has not invested in building out these beds and this care.
So we're going to close the jail and then put them out on the street because by 2025 we still won't have those beds?
Yeah, I'm sure they won't be a threat to any of us.
They've invested some, but it's not enough to meet the needs of a county of 10 million people.
So if we defund the police more, then we can fund more of these nonprofits.
Let that sink in for a minute. All right, we'll have more from Abolish the Police Councilwoman Eunice Hernandez coming up in moments. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Chris writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com about the smash and grabs in the Bay Area. I have a solution to all this smash and grab BS. People say that California is becoming the Wild Wild West.
It's Wild Wild West out here.
Fine, it can go both ways. Bring back bounty hunting. Place this guy's mugshot on a wanted poster, post it around town, and offer a $10,000 bounty for him and others, dead or alive.
You know, it's days like today where I wish that Dog the Bounty Hunter's late big-breasted wife was still alive. Right now, we're going through the sound of L.A. City Councilwoman Abolish the Police's Eunice Hernandez's sit-down with Spectrum One News.
Eunice was asked, okay, so you got your Measure J, you defunded the sheriff's department, you're getting your Care First jails last agenda, you're closing Men's Central Jail. What's next in your criminal justice reform agenda, Eunice?
Other than decarceration, what other criminal justice reforms are you looking for Los Angeles to make in the near future?
I'm looking Los Angeles to be a leader around pretrial reform. You know, I mentioned earlier that 50% of the people in LA County jails are there pretrial because most of them cannot afford bail. We need to be able to...
We just already did that, and it's a disaster.
But let's do more.
We need to be able to not have people incarcerated because they can't pay for their freedom. And
everyone in jail was wrongfully arrested, and they're just poor.
They were just walking to church one day, and suddenly the system said, hey, you look poor. Let's throw you in jail.
Provide the things that we know that the data shows that will bring them back to court, that will prevent recidivism, or that will deter it. And that is providing holistic services, employment services, daycare for their families or children. This is what I would like.
Daycare for felons.
Wait, where we watch their kids or we watch them?
This is what I would like us to see. We've seen that the state, the Judicial Council have tried through SB 10. They've tried through Prop 25 to get rid of bail and replace it with a system that is far worse. And that's not the direction we should be going in. We should get rid of cash bail, but that's not the goal. The goal is to end pretrial incarceration as well. And we do that.
How about for murderers?
I don't think she wants to punish anyone.
No, she is an abolitionist. She does not believe in the system of incarceration. She believes all crime is caused by systemic racism.
That's logical.
By not incarcerating people for pre-trial or pre-arraignment and providing more care and supportive services so that they actually come back to court and so that they don't recidivate. You know, there's a lot of desperation out in our communities. You got people that are thousands and thousands of dollars behind in rent. And, you know, that's impacting our communities in a lot of ways.
That's why crime is happening, because we got rid of the eviction moratorium.
See, this is where it transitions from you steal a loaf of bread, Les Miserables, because your child is starving and you have no money, to they steal your catalytic converter because they're behind on the rent because of the evil landlords. So how can you blame them? She is making an ideological argument that they are in the right to steal your catalytic converter or your car. She doesn't think they're the bad guy. She thinks you're the bad guy. It's hard to believe in this day and age that someone who believes that to be true could get elected to anything. And not only did she get elected to the LA City Council, she beat a longtime incumbent. Not a lot of things surprise me about bad government and crazy ideas coming from this state. But honestly, I didn't think we were this nuts.
I mean, she knocked him out in the primary.
It wasn't close.
No. She got over 50% in the first round. Knocked him out entirely.
And was endorsed by the Los Angeles Times.
And the DSA.
Of course. 2 peas in a pod.
Hey, guess which member of the city council wasn't at the Solidarity for Israel press conference?
Was it our friend Ulysses?
Yes.
You know who else wasn't there?
Nithya Raman?
Yes, I don't have a drop for her yet, though. And you know who else also wasn't there?
Hugo Soto Martinez.
Yeah, clap that up.
All the other members were there. They showed solidarity with Israel, but not those 3.
How about Mike Bonin? Was he there?
He's not a member of the city council anymore.
No, I know that, but he was also a member of the DSA.
Oh, he is one of the most proudest card-carrying members of the DSA. I'm sure he'll do a whole podcast on What's Next Los Angeles about how Israel's in the wrong.
All right, we've got 2 more hours coming up. The Fix California Hour is next. Don't you go anywhere. This is Talk Radio 790 KABC.
Are we going to get it? Are we going to get it? Are we going to get it? Are we going to get it?